Hey, what's up guys, HitmanXNLR here, and I will start up this deck tech real quick. I just need to take a quick sip of this drink. I am thirsty as all hell. Oh my goodness. This is a generic brand, I don't know what, I can't really think of a clever name for a store. This is Hitman XZ Nalar Market, brand, soda. Sure. We're gonna go with that, and you guys are gonna like it. That's really good. If you're really wondering what I'm drinking, ask me in the comments and I'll let you know. But anyways, enough jokes aside. This is a Pauper deck. I've been just recently introduced into Pauper, and when I first heard of Pauper, I'm like, all commons, what the hell? This can't be a good format. And then I realized, wait a minute, I don't have to face the crappy infinite combos anymore, do I? All those infinite combos that scare me in Modern, I don't have to face all that anymore. I don't have to have PTSD about Spell Queller, Thalia, all of that anymore. I'm gonna get into Pauper. So I basically started buying this deck. I have most of the cards. I'll let you figure out which ones I don't have that I have proxied up. I'll give you a hint. It's 4 of the 2 drops, 3 of the 5 drops, 1 of the 4 drops, and pretty much the entire sideboard that isn't Dispel or Hydroblast. I'll let you figure out which cards are proxied up and which ones are legit now down in the comments. Also, 8 cards in the 1-drop section. But anyways, I digress. Let's get into this. This is Mono Blue Delver. A little bit of backstory. I wanted to play Delver for a while. I started as Sultai in Legacy, Sultai in Modern, and then 4-color Delver in Modern when Bloodbraid Elf got unbanned. It was essentially Teamer / Black, and then I went back to Sultai Delver in Legacy, and then Sultai Delver in Modern again. I've been bouncing back and forth. So I have Sultai Delver in Modern being built right now, but until then, I am playing Sultai Delver in Pauper. Sultai Delver in Pauper. What the hell am I saying? Mono Blue Delver in Pauper. I need another sip of this, clearly, because I'm going insane. Okay, a minute. Anyways, I know this intro's been forced, but it's going to be forced one more time, and you're all going to hate me for it. Let's delve right into it. I hate myself, too. There's going to be at least one comment down below telling me to kill myself, and I know exactly who's going to say it. So start off, of course, with the 1-drops, because as you can see, it's all basic islands. So we'll start off with the 1-drops. We got 2 copies of Brainstorm, 4 copies of Delver of Secrets, 4 copies of Fairy Miscreant, 4 copies of Ponder, 4 copies of Preordained, 4 copies of Vapor Snag. It's going to be a reoccurring theme in this deck that there's 4 copies of a lot of cards. Also, if you don't know why Delver of Secrets is in this deck, you need to leave this deck tech video right now and go find another deck to play in Pauper, because I'm not going to get into too much detail, but I've actually been asked why I'm playing Delver of Secrets in Mono Blue Delver. They actually refer to it as Mono Blue Control, and then I'm like, this is Mono Blue Control, it's Mono Blue Delver, and then they were like, why are you playing Delver of Secrets instead? And I'm like, I have facepalm. I don't know if you heard that, but that was me facepalming. Anyways, 4 copies of Augur Bolus, 4 copies of Counterspell, 2 copies of Daze, 4 copies of Spellstutter Sprite. Spellstutter Sprite, basically it's just I wouldn't say it's a better version of Counterspell, because Counterspell is Counterspell. But it's basically Counterspell, where you counter a spell first with a CMC of X or less, where X is the number of fairies you control. So basically, if I have all 4 of my Fairy Miscreants on the battlefield, basically, you better be playing something like Spire Golem, otherwise I'm countering it. If you bounce 2 islands to play Gush, I'm just going to say no, and then you basically bounce 2 islands for nothing. 4 drops, which is technically another 2-drop. Ninja of the Deep Hours. He has a blue 1 ninjutsu ability. If you don't know what ninjutsu is, look it up. I'm not going to try to explain it. It's not complex, but basically, he's a 2/2 for 4, but I say he's a 2/2 for 2. And whenever he deals combat damage, you may draw a card. So basically, whenever he deals combat damage, you draw a card, because that's what this deck is good at. This deck is good at drawing cards and countering all your opponent's stuff in mid-range beatdowns, which I like to call mid-range beatdown. Yeah, that was awful, I know, but basically, whenever I play my Esper control deck, to make a long story short, when I start beating you down with Celestial Colonnade or Snapcaster Mage or basically any of my creatures, I say let's commence mid-range beatdown, and then say combat, commence beatdown, and swing with one of my creatures. And usually when I say it, it means you're gonna die in a couple turns, and it's usually how it works. You die in a couple turns. It's great. Anyways, I'm getting off topic again, aren't I? Back to the deck. Of course, we got 3 copies of Gush, because why not? You're playing mono blue. You have 4 lands in play, 2 of which are tapped because you just countered your opponent's spell. They say go. You say at your end step, bounce these 2 islands that I just used to counter your freaking... I don't know. To counter your... We'll say duress. Yeah, I countered your duress because I didn't want you to take out the freaking ponder in my hand, because... Or the brainstorm in my hand. Or the we'll say I counter your duress because I want to keep this Gush in my hand. Even better. So I didn't want you to counter this Gush. Now I'm going to play this Gush with the 2 tapped islands. And you can draw cards. Because again, this deck is good at drawing cards in mid-range beatdowns. That's all this deck is. It's drawing cards, mid-range beatdown, and countering all your opponent's stuff. And don't let them play Magic. Your opponent doesn't get to play Magic. You get to play Magic. You get to draw cards. Your opponent gets to draw cards too, but you get, like... At the end of, like, every game that I've played, there'd be, like, 20 cards left in my library. I'm not even exaggerating that. Like, one time I actually counted, because my deck looks so thin, I had exactly 20 cards in my library left. It was, now, granted, it was a longer matchup, and it was the mirror, but I was drawing a lot of freaking cards. Like, holy crap. Like, a lot more than you will ever draw in, like, Modern or Legacy or Vintage, for that matter. A lot more cards. Well, okay, I don't know about Vintage, but a lot more than you would ever draw in, like, Legacy, or, yeah, we'll say Vintage. Like, a lot more cards than you'll draw in any format without an infinite combo. Or some big mana combo. Like, I've seen someone play a weird combo deck where it's, like, infinite mana into Blue Sunzy. 4 copies of Spire Golem, which is a 6-drop, 2/4 flyer with affinity for islands. So essentially, if your land drops have been being very consistent, you could have a freaking 2/4 with flying for 0 on turn 6. I've actually had that happen before, where I've actually went... My turn 6 was land, Spire Golem, and my opponent was just staring at me like, wait, what? I'm like, it has affinity for islands, bro. And he's just like... Okay, yeah, that resolves. He had a counterspell in his hand, too, which really didn't help, because I had 6 mana open, and I bluffed a counterspell. All I had was a Daze. I had nothing but Daze in my hand. I just want the record to show I had nothing but Daze. Let me repeat that one more time, because I don't think you heard me. All I had was Daze. I didn't have counterspell, I didn't have spell stutter spray, I had Daze in my hand, and I bluffed a counterspell, and he didn't get into a counter war with me with either of these Spire Golems. It's freaking insane. I digress. Get to the sideboard. 3 copies of Annul, which counters an artifact or enchantment, so basically Affinity Hate, and this one deck I saw, which was basically enchantment control. It was very weird. Good for that. Curse of Chains, basically it's a 2-mana claustrophobia. 2 copies of Dispel, very good for the mirror, very good for control matchups. 2 copies of Gut Shot, very good for the even more mid-range beatdown decks, which I've actually won a game of Pauper where it was mono blue versus mono blue, and we both sideboarded the same thing, except I sideboarded in Gut Shot as well, and I won the game because I did that. That's another story for another time. 2 copies of Hydroblast, and 3 copies of Stormbound Geist. Again, very good for the mirror. Well, that's the deck, people. I would love to get into more detail of the deck, but unfortunately this software only gives me a 10-minute time limit. So, until I get my computer, or should I say the web browser that I use working, or this computer gets good, I'm stuck using this for a while. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Leave a like, maybe subscribe. Peace out. Chandra's Life, a new addition to my outro I would like to announce. Widowmaker's Life. And I know I'm going to get some hate for this, especially for some people that I know in real life, but go Valiant.